These are features you may not know that are in Aldelo Express, but you really need to. You really need to pay attention and really need to know these different features and how to utilize them. So first up, we're going to talk about printer routing by table group. This is a very unique way of rerouting orders once the one of the printers fails. So some systems, not all, but some systems have rerouting available, but I don't know of another system that reroutes by table group automatically. And this gives us some distinct advantages when we get into the why and what's behind it. So the system will reroute printers to alternate devices. That is, it not only will it reroute to a backup printer or an alternate printer, but it will also reroute to an alternate KDS, so kitchen display. So there are some unique features with regard to that. I will explain those in better detail here in a minute. The operator, they will be notified. There's an alert message that pops up to let them know that the kitchen printer is offline. Most often it is a paper situation. The printer is just out of paper, but it could be that it's unplugged. It could be that it's just offline. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. Generally, the least likely is that it's broken. It's most likely out of paper. So the operator, the cashier, or the server is going to get a message that lets them know that it's offline, and it will do that until on every order until the error is fixed. We want it to be a notice. We want it to be an error message, and we want it to be slightly irritating, because what happens in systems that automatically reroute and do not give the message to the user, then that paper doesn't get changed and it just stays in the rerouted rerouted mode. And we don't want that. We want this system to be up and running. So therefore, there is an alert message. It is a little annoying, but once they fix it, it goes away. Table group does allow a lot more flexibility when routing. So if you think about a table group, in my demo, I have the dining room and then also have the patio. So each of those groups would have its own routing, so that if you have a backup printer that is the receipt printer for the terminal, you don't want the patio backup to go to the dining room table group. You don't want it to go to that terminal's receipt printer. You'd like it to go to the one beside the terminal where you're standing. Same thing would be even more obvious if you had multiple floors to the restaurant, where you had multiple kitchens. So you do need to have the flexibility of routing by table group. This also makes it much easier in that you don't have to route it by table. You can route it by the entire group with one setting that we will show you. Now we put together a diagram that shows a one terminal system with one terminal, router, remote printer, and a receipt printer. Both of those are IP printers, and I just labeled them with a 1 or a 3 in this case. You'll understand better. So on a one terminal, we're not going to reroute by table group because there's no other terminals in the system. But if this printer does go offline, the operator will get a message and then it will be rerouted to the receipt printer. So that's standard in a one terminal instance. But if you add additional terminals, 2 or more, and have a more complex kitchen with maybe 2 or more printers, if one of those printers goes offline, or if the terminal goes offline, either one, then terminal 2 will automatically take over and reroute based upon the terminal routing that it has. It could go to another printer, or it could go to a kitchen video, but it does have the automatic rerouting to the other printer, and it could be the receipt printer. Now, once these come back online, then that printer route will go right back to where it was. The same thing if the terminal comes back online. When it comes back online, the system automatically returns to its normal status. There's no interference, no interaction with the terminals by management or the servers. It just starts working again just as soon as things come back online. All right, the way to set this up is that you go to settings, and then you go to table group, you edit the group, and then you do the seating group based printer routing. So let's take a look at that. You're going to go to seatings under the settings, down to seatings. You're going to have your different groups. I've got dining and patio. So I'm going to edit the dining room and then go to the printer routing. So here you have the ability to reroute the guest check to a different device. You can also reroute the packing printer. And here's where you reroute the normal print job to kitchen. So kitchen printer 1 through 20, you do have the ability to reroute that to another device, which then that device becomes the print server and takes over the printing duties and the sorting duties of those print demands. But that's how you set it up, and then it starts working by itself automatically. Jeff, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a great job, sir.
Yeah. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I'm going to continue on. Next up is a feature you've heard me talk about, but we've never really dove into it like we are about to now. It's something I call required beverage, and we'll show you how to set it up and how this works. It is, you have the choice to either alert the operator or totally stop the transaction until you have a condition met of 1 beverage per guest. So this is a situation where the drinks are being prepared, the soft beverages, which are coffees, teas, sodas, are prepared by the server. And sometimes, and it happens to me a lot, it seems like 2 out of 10 dining out experiences, I get undercharged for my soft beverages. Most times, or a lot of times, the server is doing that on purpose with the intent that I am going to tip them better because they gave me free beverages. Well, for me, that doesn't work. And in this case, the system is going to then stop the transaction and not let it proceed with either an alert or a requirement that it be met. This absolutely prevents accidental loss and intentional theft from the servers. We don't allow the server to give away those free items any longer. This is a huge return on investment, absolutely huge. And so there's 2 settings that we're going to show you. The first one is an alert that just notifies the server, and that is they have been notified that they need at least 1 drink per guest. This is per guest, so it's not just per entree, it is per guest that's seated at the table. They can either hit the blue button and it takes them back to the point of sale so they can ring up the drinks, or skip to move forward. So this is one option. The more, the next level up is that the system will not allow the transaction to move forward until there is at least 1 drink per guest. Now, yeah, you're going to have situations where you need to have a water button and you need to have a no drink button. So you do have to have those in play and those in your database, but this will absolutely require a drink per guest. That will create a lot of extra revenue from just the sales of these drinks for the restaurant. This is something that I would show every time I presented the system. Even if the restaurant owner says, well, it's going to slow me down. Well, no, actually it's not. And here's why. If the conditions are being rung up like they should be, then there's never a need for either one of these messages to pop up. So as long as the server is doing their job, which is ringing up the soft beverages like they should, then these messages never pop up. The only time they do is when there's an exception and somebody's trying to get away with something. So let's give you a good ROI on this. Let's say that the soft beverage is $2.50. That is coffee, teas, and sodas. And if they are not getting paid for 4 beverages per day, when you present this like this to a restaurant owner, he's going to go, there's a lot more than 4 per day that's being given away. So in his mind, he's thinking this is low. And really you want that. You want the return on investment to be lower than the restaurant owner is anticipating. So 250, 4 beverages per day, that equals up to $10 per day in lost sales. And that is truly lost sales. And it's really, they're already losing on the product. The cost of the product, the cost of the food is already in this $10. They're paying for it. Then you have let's say a 40% food cost. And again, the restaurant owner is going to go, my food cost on soft beverages is a lot better than 40%. But okay, let's go ahead with your 40% number. Well, that's $6 in profit that's lost per day. In 30 days, that's $180 per month. So in this one feature alone, are cost justifying the entire system. So that's how important this particular feature is. And it's something that I would show every time that I'm presenting the system. Let's do some setup. So store config, order type, drink, unmet, action at order completion. That's where you select what you want it to do. And then in the products, you have to tell it that this one is, these are the drinks that are going to meet this qualification. So let's take a look. So in settings, under store config, you have order type config, and you have the different order types here. Then you run down to here and you see drink, order, unmet, action at order completion. Drop this down and you have a choice of nothing. You have a choice of warning only, and you have a choice of prevent order completion. Pick one of those. When you hit save, the next time you go into the point of sale, that is at least activated. Then you have to come up to the products and select the drinks that are going to satisfy that condition. I'm choosing this drink and I'm going to go down to the extended settings. And you scroll down near to the bottom and it's a drink qualifier. And you make that a yes and save it. And now that drink will meet the necessary qualifications to allow the sale to move forward. So you have to do that. Yes, you have to have every item that you're going to allow to meet that qualification has to have that flag checked. But if you're doing this in the initial setup of the database, you're going to create the first menu item. And you're going to check that box along with all the other conditions that you want to have set. And then you just duplicate that item over and over and over again, just changing the description and the price and any other minor details. The majority or all of the settings from the first item are copied to the second item. So it's not like you have to go back and edit each one individually. I hope you see that. Jeff, anything on that?
So we do have a question there. Doug was looking to see if there's a report that distinguishes the required beverages from any of the other options. And unfortunately, Doug, I've never in 14 years ever had a customer request that. It's never come up. There are reports that show them what items they're selling, but I've never had somebody go, I just want to know just the required beverage sales. If they were going to do that, I would suggest that they build a category, a reporting category for that, and then have all those drinks or all those items in that reporting category. That would be very easy for them to set up and do, and would give them that functionality on their category sales report.
Sales by category.
And then Doug was wondering if this could be set up on a group level. No, this is actually set up on an individual item level. It is not set up on a group level.
So you're looking at here, these are my categories here that are satisfying that condition. I know that from my database, these coffee drinks are the ones that are satisfying it. No other categories currently in my database allow that, but I could have multiple categories or only just one. So I would be able to look at this report and see what my soft beverage sales are. So that might be a way around that, Doug, in that you could have just soft beverages be a category. Jeff, would that work for you?
Yeah, I would just make I would literally have one that says, beverage restrictions or something like that, whatever topic they're interested in. And that's what I would make one of my reporting categories.
Yep.
It would make it very, very simple.
Now, reporting category does not have to be a sales category.
That's correct.
They can be different. So they don't have to see required beverage category on the menu that's, customer facing or operator facing.
But it would show up on this category item report.
Yes, right here. All right, any other questions in the chat?
No, I think we've got them, sir.
Okay. I hope everybody is comfortable with the required beverage and how that operates. That is a key feature. You've heard me mention it numerous times in all our classes, but today was the first time we ever got into the nuts and bolts of how to set it up and how to make it work. You really need to play with this one. This is a big, big deal. Not everybody does this. Your competition probably doesn't. This is a feature generally held for the Alohas and the micros and the major big players. Those low-end companies don't do this. And since we're not a low-end company, this is one of the reasons things that sets us apart from those low ends. All right, next up is customize order types. Order types are where you have dine-in, curbside, takeout, drive-through, delivery. Those are order types in the Aldelo Express system. So you can absolutely turn them on or off. You do have up to 6 order types. You don't have to have all 6 in the system. If you only have 2, then only turn on 2 of them and leave the rest of them off. But you have up to 6. What people don't know is that you can actually change the names. And I'm going to show you how to do that here shortly. You can change the name from takeout to curbside. You don't have to have a drive-through, but you could have a takeout and a curbside in the same system. Same thing for delivery. You have up to 6 order types of which you can change the name to anything you wish. And on top of that, you can load in an image to give it a little more customization, give it a more easy to ring up. Certain images and certain times, it's good to use an image on the point of sale. It makes it easier to identify and easier to ring up. Not every item has to have an image, but having an image on their order type, that really is a big deal. That really helps out a lot. So let's take a look at how that happens. You go into the store config, general config, services tab, and then order type options. So let's take a look at that. Settings, store config, general config, and then we're going to the services tab and to order type options. And here's where you can turn them on or off. If you don't have dine-in, just check that box and it turns it off. Turn it on, does then activate it. You can call it whatever. All the way down, all of these can be turned on or off. So if I don't want it to be takeout, I'd rather have curbside, then that's all I got to do is change it here. And that will then change the name from takeout to curbside. I can also bring in a little JPEG, little logo. So now that pops up, and instead of it saying curbside, it will say preview. The curbside will then be used on the reporting aspects, but that's how you change that. Really, really simple. You can also see at the bottom where it defaults to retail. I have that turned off because in this case, I don't have any retail situation. But that's all there is to changing and customizing the order types. This is something that I do on my demos that makes it a little bit more attractive and not as plain. All right, any questions on that? Jeff, anything in the chat?
Nothing in the chat. We do have actually Douglas just popped in. He says order type pizza zone 1 free within 4. Zone 2 is free within so many miles. So Doug, that's actually an order delivery feature. And so if you want to have free delivery and stuff, that's actually handled in the software. You need to go in and set your delivery zones. And typically I'd say you do it by zip code. That's usually the easiest way. Makes it really, really simple. And then Jerry, one you brought up this morning, I was really thrilled with your keen observation stuff. You have one that says platform use only.
Yep, right here.
This is a new feature that popped in.
I
And
have,
Jerry,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
got DoorDash turned on. The DoorDash on my demo is turned on. And when that happens, see the takeout and delivery, those are grayed out. I can't change them because now DoorDash is taking over this in my takeouts. Now, what Jeff and I discovered is that if I don't want delivery offered at the store, that I'm going to be DoorDash only, then I check that box and my delivery now is 100% dependent upon DoorDash. It's not offered at the point of sale. Same thing for takeout or curbside. That's all DoorDash. But Jeff, you said later on this year, we're going to be doing that with Mesa, but right now this is a DoorDash only option.
Yeah, currently this is a DoorDash feature. We're going to be adding this to other platforms later on.
So if you have a customer who is now activated with DoorDash, they're going to see their takeout order type is grayed out and can't change it. Same thing for delivery. Cannot change it. But they can restrict it to be only DoorDash.
Yeah, I actually highly recommend if somebody's using online ordering, there's no reason they need to be restricted with Aldelo Express to using just one option. They could easily have DoorDash for their delivery options and do that. They can have online orders now. They can have Mesa online ordering all simultaneously. And they can get orders from all 3 platforms or more. There really is no limit to how many platforms they can have simultaneously. So there's no reason to have those kinds of restrictions any longer.
If they are a restaurant that has other third-party delivery options, they really have to have Mesa, because then they'll start to see if they can build the Mesa side of the business, they can start building that. They'll soon discover just how much they're being hit with fees for those other sources, and they're not getting hit with additional fees from us. They need to build their Mesa side of their business. All right, next up is the guest check and receipt messages. We still got a lot of questions from you guys about what is and is not available on the receipts. So let's take a look at it and let you know that we have over 30 flag options on the guest check receipt, just on that one area, that you can choose what is and is not included, what is shown, what's not shown. There's a lot of options with regard to what goes on the receipt. You get to pick that. You get things like suggested gratuity. It can be a percentage or it can be show the exact amount. You have those choices. You have a choice of a QR code and a barcode for order recall. Those things go on the guest check. Store logo, name and address and phone. You can even do a custom header and a footer message. You have up to, I think we counted 5 lines of custom header that you can also choose the size of the font. You have multiple font sizes. And something I didn't list here, but you also have promotions and specials that you can put on the bottom of the receipt. These receipts are highly, highly customizable on the printed receipt and in the email version. So let's take a look at what it does to set it up. You go to the settings, store config, and then there's receipt and ticketing config under the guest check tab. Store config, receipt and ticketing, and you get into the options. Here's all those 30 plus options. Now, everything is turned on no, which in this case means yes. So do not print time. Well, if you right now, the no setting means it's going to print the time. So all these no's means it's going to print. So if you want something turned off, just hit yes. Then here's the suggested gratuity options here. You have one line here of header and footer. And then you have all the different options for the size of the print, all these different lines. You can choose here, double height, double width, double height and double width, triple height, width, and then height and width. You have all these options for every one of these lines. So you can really get into the details and making that just a huge, huge, long receipt. Or you can shorten it up to be just a no. Your options as well there. Come back up to general config and go to the printed receipt option, the tab here. And here are even more messages, more things. This is where I loaded in a logo for my coffee shop. This logo is going to print on my receipt. Then I have choices of store name, what size I want the store name to be, then marketing message 1 and 2, address, and it just keeps going. Footers. This is what prints on the footer. 1, 2, 3, 4. In addition to that other line we had on the other option. So that's 5 lines of footer message. And then you have 4 different offers, special offers that can be added to the bottom of the receipt, including a QR code to make it easy to ring that up the next time they come in. Then you have the store QR code and any order number barcode. So we had both on my receipt. So that's how you customize the receipt. And as you can see, it can be highly, highly customizable with all these different messages. This is another area where I think you are missing out if you don't have these programmed and showing this. This is something that needs to be shown, whether it's a printed receipt or an email receipt. You have these different options and they don't have to be the same. You can have different footers, different messages on the email receipt versus the printed receipt. And then you have the social media network links as well on the email version. Highly, highly customizable. And if you're not showing this, you're missing out. All right, any other questions? Those are the 4 topics that we wanted to cover today and make sure that you guys are going to show these features. They are really special and unique and set us apart.
Doug had a really good one. He was asking, can you put a coupon and stuff on the footer of the receipt? You can put a discount in there, which is, essentially a coupon, but it has to be a built-in discount. And when you build that discount, of course, you put the expiration date in the discount. So when you build that, it's there. But from the drop downs Jerry was showing, you just choose which discount you want to apply and put there, and it'll put a QR code on it, which is pretty neat. You're not able to import like third-party discounts or something like this. You're not able to make serialized coupons. That's not how this works. But it will allow you to put in discounts and stuff. So if you have a 10% off discount or something like that, it will put that onto the bottom. And then can we print the customer receipt with a different font size with till report at the same printer. So I think what you're asking is if you go into the system and you adjust the font size and stuff for the receipt configurations that Jerry was showing, will that affect things like your cashier out reports? No, it doesn't. You can actually, affect individualized lines and have modifiers and things like this show differently. So it's actually very, very flexible here. Do keep in mind, there are sections where you can just change the receipt size to 2 times or 3 size. If you do it to the entire receipt, yes, it will affect everything. But most of these in here, you'll see it's just subtotal lines, or it's modifier lines, or it's things like this, a customer name. So you're checking individual sections. So that is different. And then Doug was asking, this is a really good question. Can you do a customer survey? Jerry, can you go down to the footer section there at the print options? I'm very sorry, for the footers. Here we go. So when you're in here and you're putting in your footer message, you'll notice there's a store QR code set, web URL. You can type in a URL and stuff there, and it will put in a QR code with a URL. You would put your survey URL into that space, and that would link to your survey. That's how you would do it right there. So yes, you can. Is the short there, and that's exactly where it's at.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And Doug, that's a really good question. I don't get that one very often, but that is actually a really good question.
All right, guys. I hope you got something out of this. Go get your system. Go play with it. Go look at the required beverage. Set it up. Play with it. You'll see just how powerful it is, and then get smooth and comfortable with your cost justifications. I did the $2.50 drink because 4 of those is $10. 40% food cost is 60% profit. 6 times 30 is 180. The numbers just flow. But just whatever numbers you use, get comfortable with them and let them flow off your lips so that it doesn't look hard. Make it easy for these guys. Go sell the solution. You'll get more money that way. Y'all have a great weekend.